before, I feel like the Renton Community Foundation, it's like angels watching over you, because you never know, when you might get an opportunity to be uh, in this wonderful partnership, just supporting us in our work. And just all of a sudden, an email from Leanne feels like just like a message from above. I'm just going to say that. And I am with St. Vincent de Paul of Seattle, King County, and 2020, it's our year of celebrations. We started with our centennial. We started in 1920. And little did we know was that we were going to end up, in the middle of the pandemic. So I became the executive director a year ago, and I tell you, and I think Virginia too, we need, and probably Leanne, everybody, we need a bumper sticker that says we survived COVID as an executive director, because there's been a lot that's been put on our plates, with different rules and regulations coming down from DC and everywhere else. And, we're moving one way and then we're asked to pivot. And that's what we've been doing for the last, 8, 9 months, just pivot, pivot, pivot. So I tip my hat to everybody who is, you know, keeping it real for those who really need it, especially those that Leanne mentioned, those on the margins and our communities who are essential workers who've really been impacted by COVID-19. So one more thing, and then we can go into the slides. I just want to say that St. Vincent de Paul, yes, we've been around for 100 years, doing our essential work, which is going into homes to listen to people and find them where they're at. We have a large helpline that receives 50,000 requests every year. We're the number 1211 referral agency, the crisis line. And that, as soon as COVID hit, we saw a 35% increase in phone calls to our helpline. So we immediately had to pivot and just put resources on our helpline to be able to answer those calls. Every year before COVID, we had also been doing 15,000 home visits across King County. And now with social distancing, we continue to do some of those home visits, but we're doing a lot of phone visits, as we're calling them. And we're in 50 different neighborhoods, and one of them is, of course, the Renton area and across South King County. So um, in 2013, though, we started our Central Rendu, and we're just going to show you a little bit about what we're doing with our Latino response. So in 2013, we did a listening session, and we recognized that there was a lot of need in the Hispanic Latino community, and there were no services in South King County at that time that were responding to basic needs the way that we've been doing it for 100 years. So if you can go to the first slide, Leanne. So in 2013, we started our Central Rendu, which is a place-based. It's located. The first one was located, or is still located, in Kent, inside our thrift store, and now we have a site in Renton, and we've just moved to the Sunset neighborhood, and we started with the adults because we knew that the schools is where the kids are, but who's taking care of these adults? Some of them are coming with um, their English ability. It's not at a level that would be helpful for them, right? And so yeah, ESL is it's an important thing, but more importantly, we found out that a lot of people had not been able to formally complete their education in their country of origin. So we partner with the Mexican consulate, and we have a program that teaches adults how to read and write in Spanish so that they can learn English easier, right? And also so they can be better, so they can support their children's education better. We do computer literacy classes, financial literacy, and we also help with rent and utilities, case management. We just kind of wrap around the individual and the family to bring stability and self-sufficiency. I'm going kind of quick because I know it's 10 minutes, so I don't know. You're going to tell me, right, Leanne? The second slide kind of goes into a little bit of a deeper dive into one of our programs. And this is our De Colores program. It's an early childhood education program where we are helping parents uh, feel comfortable knowing that they have what it takes to be able to give their children what they need. And so we help them with recognizing that they are their first educators of their children, and we give them skills to strengthen that and to help prepare their children for kindergarten. um, Before COVID, this was a home-based program, so we were going to families' homes and do an assessment of the child, a full assessment, and provide resources at their home. Because of COVID, we had a pivot, and we did a lot of technology training at the beginning, using Zoom or WhatsApp or whatever people had access to, and that very quickly we realized the technology divide that really keeps some of us in a privileged state versus others. And so we continue to visit with social distancing. So we're combining technology with also um, driving by the homes and dropping off lessons, diapers, and other basic needs, including food. The third slide, it's a deep dive too. Maybe some of you recognize Sergeant John because he is from Renton. But this is our Reroute Youth Prevention Program, and this addresses the need for our youth to feel connected with their culture, get that sense of belonging, and pride in themselves, and seeing other people that look like them too. So all the staff at Central and Do is from the Hispanic Latino community, and our mentors for the youth program as well, who have lived experiences. And we combine our work of academic support, advocacy in the schools, with culturally specific case management services. And we work with law enforcement, with schools, and with the whole family. That's very, very important for us to be working with the parents as well, and they appreciate that. The fourth and last slide is just we do a lot of things at Central Rendu, but one of the things we do also, engage in is cultural events that kind of help celebrate traditions and strengthen the bonds of unity and of self-worth. And, you know, um, when we put an event together, we end up getting a lot of people to attend pre-COVID, of course, but then we've been doing a lot of those drive-by events, and they have been very successful too. The cute picture on the left side there is one of our staff. Just it was during Christmas, and the kids in the back are part of a dance club that we started in one of the schools, and it started for it's folkloric dancing, and it started with the kids from the Latino community, but it expanded quickly, and they had other children from other groups joining them, and so that was our Christmas event. Um, the community appreciates that very, very much. So lastly, that was the last slide I had. But what I wanted to share with all of you is that, in May, this past May 2020, Maria, who was one of our students, she contracted COVID, and she was in the ICU for a month. During that time, her husband stopped working because he needed to take care of her. And during that time, of course, they were having a financial situation that prevented them from, keeping up with their rent and utilities. And so Savings in the Pole was able to help with rental assistance, but also, would drive by and deliver food. And they were not unlike others. So it really led us to open a food, like a, I'm going to call it a food bank, but just a site on one of our stores in Kent, and just people would drive by and pick up food. But for this family, we drove to their home and dropped that off. And just I'm going to leave you with these words from them. And they said, it helps us immensely to know that our friends at St. Vincent de Paul Central and Do were thinking about us, and only a phone call away if we needed anything. Maria and her husband told us that at St. Vincent de Paul, your family, not just another person on their callback list. So we like to, have we build relationship with the people we serve. They're not just clients, they're not just people on our callback list. We call them neighbors, and that's how we serve. So I'm going to stop at that. See if there's any questions or what would be next.
Well, thank you, Miria. And 10 minutes goes fast, and we're going to get to Virginia, and then we'll have Q&A. But I know that as we were doing the prep for this call, you know, the three of us talked about just, you know, what's coming. And you've talked about, you know, the 35% increase in your helpline, the technology divide. And I'm sure, you know, what we've heard is a lot of the essential workers come from the Latinx community. So just thinking about that as we get in the Q&A, about what we should know, and you know, the unknowing, the uncertainty of how long this will be happening and the toll that can take emotionally. So thank you, Miria. We're going to go to Virginia now. So Virginia, you want to unmute and...
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Leanne. I know Renton Community Foundation has been a great asset in our community, and it's not because it's in Renton. They share everything around King County, and really, I think, as Marian says, it's just a very nice feeling to have a partner like Renton Community Foundation. And thank you, Leanne, and thank you, everybody, for being here. My English is kind of rough, so please, if you have questions, you can interrupt me anytime. I won't get touchy or nothing like that. So I want to share, I want to tell you how Para los Niños has been growing it up. We started in 2003. As Mariam, I am just 15 months in the ED position, so I am pretty new. And I want just to share some, can I share? Let me see if I can share now. Share a screen. Yes. So we are here since 2003 in Burien. We have been helping families, practically in Burien and in all the highest school district and around the cities, because sometimes our services are so close that, you know, people from Normandy Park, for SeaTac, for Burien, sometimes we work together because we work in the Highline school district. So their children are going to the school districts that we serve. So Para los Niños mission is fostering academic success for every Latino student through parent and community involvement. So just I'm going to pass very fast some of the pictures that I want to share with you. And really, Para los Niños believes that all Latino children and families are capable to excellence, and they, you know, we want that we all achieve our cultural goals through programs that are relevant to them. And actually, Para los Niños start from a group of parents that meet over a carne asada, and they discuss the few accessibility by that time in the schools, because was nobody that speak their language. So really they start trying to advocate for the children, and later our programs start to develop ourselves with the help of our community. So we have many programs. One of them is Aprendamos Juntos, that really is for preschoolers. One of the main programs, I love that one because it's simultaneous in the same time that parents are in a classroom learning English. Their children are in an after school program, learning, helping do the homework, learning their own culture, learning new cultures, and speaking the language where they feel more comfortable. That sometimes is English and sometimes is Spanish, or sometimes a mix of both. And you know, we have snacks, it's very cultural relevant. Our teachers look like the people that is in the classroom, so they are bicultural and bilingual. So this is definitely a great asset for children that came to this new country and want to start to develop their own skills. But I think our program make it a more easy transition. And just here are some of the pictures in the classrooms. We have, and you know, other things that without saying, the parents in our culture, you know, education in an adult age, sometimes it's a taboo. So now it's just so nice that when the children stay in the classroom, parents are learning too, without any why you are old and you are in the classroom. It's just so normal, become a normality that adults can really have the opportunity, if they didn't have before, to learn and to study other dreams that they have in mind for their lives. And just this is more pictures. We serve children between the 6 months and 12th grade, high schoolers, and of course the whole family. And just here are some pictures. We have art, we have pride of our culture, self-care. We have our summer program that is a program that before COVID-19 was for 1 full month, and with parents, children, volunteers are together. We go to things that probably in the whole year, many people doesn't have opportunity to go to museums, um, going to the pool, activities with art, families are involved. And, you know, always celebration, you know, is so important for us. So we celebrate after each program. We give the children a diploma, they perform. So just those more pictures. We have music in our programs. The last year was Bomba music, that is music from Puerto Rico. And, you know, our volunteers are so important for us. And just related lately, just I want to say that COVID-19 has been so difficult, but has been too many things to learn as well. In the beginning of the pandemic, you know, when was an order to use masks, but nobody has a mask, we came with the idea that the people that use their job and know how to swim, they make masks for us. So we were able to give masks to our community. And later, when many other organizations, King County and other organizations has masks, they give it to us, and we're able to distribute more than 4,000 masks. So we have been working hard. We have some opportunities that some grantors give us some money, and we were able to do many things, not just the mask, help people with rental assistance, full assistance, full rental sometimes partial. We give gift cards, school supplies, food, culturally appropriate food. One of the things that for us is really important is that collaboration. And we have a great collaborations with other organizations, like, you know, of course, Renton Community Foundations, as well as others such as Highline School District. We help to, and we have partnerships with Alimentando al Pueblo initiative, that it's a program that is having food, cultural appropriate food for the Latino community. We partner as well with Highland Area Food Bank and Somali Parents Education Board, as well as Lake Presbyterian Church, because they are delivering food. Sometimes they don't have enough people, and our volunteers were willing to go. And thanks for or some organizations that support us economically, we were able to give stipends to the volunteers that lost their job. So really has been, yes, a challenge. One of our challenge has been the technology. I mean, to be honest, digital disparities and inequities was prior COVID-19. But now it's like you can touch it, and now we have the plans to have long time ago a lab, a computer lab that was open our computer just started last week. So even though we try to be very careful with all the regulations, it's parents that doesn't have or doesn't know how to open an email address. So they came to here to open it, and we train them later on in Zoom. So they are ready to have our programs over Zoom, over virtually. And you know, many of our programs already has to change to a virtual mode because it's the safety things, and has been a challenge, but we have been learning a lot. As you know, we are a really education organization, but we were willing to and have the opportunity and the support from other organizations, so we really can serve our community when really they need it. And it was so good for us that we have the support of other organizations, and we can decide where this money can go and how we can help our families. So
Virginia, would this
yes.
be a good place to pause a minute and see if there are questions for both you and Miria? Do you have any last thing you that was great to talk about what you were doing with COVID, and just if there's any one other thing you want to mention, and then I'd like to open it up for questions.
Well, no, I just want to reiterate what Virginia said. I mean, the technology issue was something talked about before COVID, but it became just like, you know, just like very obvious, and we're still dealing with it. And the kids who are not going to school and parents are working, it's like completely unrealistic to expect them to be at home sitting in front of the computer to complete their homework if the parents are not there. So we've done the same. We've opened our space to be able to, you know, keep social distancing, but provide some kind of academic support. And to what Virginia said too, you know, the parents, even since before COVID, right, sometimes they don't have a way to open the email to learn where their kids are at. You know, all the information that is received through technology is not really accessible. So that's one thing. The other thing that we've actually experienced in some of our sites, because we have a couple of other sites in Seattle, within St. Vincent de Paul, is, you know, security has issues with security have increased, or security has become an issue. I don't know how to say it, but we've had to spend some money on some, you know, things that we didn't have before, like an alarm system and things like that. And just everything has created pressure on all of our systems at the same time. When we decide to help and serve in a particular way, it just kind of puts pressure on the whole system. So
thank you, Miria. Are you finished, Virginia? Do you want to stop sharing the screen?
No, yes, just I will. Thank you. Yes, I will stop sharing here.
Okay. Thank you. Those are beautiful photos.
Thank you. Oh, let's see.
All
Perfect.
Right. So I want to open this up. I know that was a quick overview, and I want to open this up to questions of what, put this on gallery view a minute to see what questions are coming up from anyone about what's happening in the Latinx community, how they can be supportive. What kinds of questions do you have?
Leanne, can I jump in?
Yeah, Bob.
Would you each tell us 2 or 3 things that are your immediate need?
Thanks, Bob.
Well, I'll just jump in because I think you know, we've I'm just gonna say some new laptops would be things that we can use. Just right out of the gate, that's one thing that comes to mind. You want to say something, Virginia?
Well, for us, I mean, for us was before. Now we covered that for some time, but definitely I think when we have unrestricted funds that we can use as time comes and as needs the community have, because sometimes we have an idea what we need, but sometimes it's some families that need extra things that we didn't take in consideration, because of course each individual needs different things, and to have the liberty to use the funds in the things that came at a surprise, it's amazing. Like, would be so nice that we have uh, certain funds for COVID, for contingencies like COVID-19 before having those, wasn't at that surprise. So I think just to have the liberty to have unrestricted funds will be, it is something that but I always am asking for something that is gift cards. I think it is very good. We can deliver food cards very easy. I think that one and unrestricted funds.
Yeah, I think to kind of highlight what Virginia is saying. So when I said, there's pressure on our systems, I think when Virginia speaks about, unrestricted funds, that's kind of to the heart of that, right? It's like we're doing a service, but something else is getting pressure, because if you're doing this, you're not doing that. And I know that, Virginia's probably putting, like we are here, we're putting extra hours every week, and that's fine. We're committed to this work, and we don't get paid any extra for putting out an 80-hour week or a 60 or whatever. But when you're doing one thing, you're not doing another, and you need, and like with our volunteers, I wish we could quantify all the work our volunteers are doing. And so unrestricted funds allow us to sort of stay focused on the mission, versus hitting the deliverables that come attached to a grant, which is good work, but it kind of limits you.
And that's a larger, issue in the philanthropic community too. I know in the last few years, there's been more attention paid to unrestricted funding, but particularly for organizations working with and led by communities of color, they get a smaller piece of that philanthropic pie. And so, that then has a real impact on the capacity of organizations to respond and not, be concerned about the health of their own staff and not burn out, and, your own sustainability. So it's a systemic issue too, when we look at the philanthropic arena. I have another question, but what other questions are in the group right now, are percolating for you?
If I can just jump in for a second, because COVID has not stopped us. It's just giving us more work, but also it has forced us to be more creative, to respond, to the needs. And so I think, the value of small grassroots organizations, and the value of the work that Para los Niños does and Centro Rendu, it's hard to replace, because when you when you serve the community, they also respond, and they are able to serve others in their community. So it creates a ripple effect of impact. So we are doing a lot of great work up front, but that spills over and people step up to the plate, and then they help their community. So it really is a good, sort of return on investment, right? But it is a lot of work for those, of us who are kind of, driving, the ship, so to speak. But and I think that's a little bit to what you were saying, Leanne. But the impact is great. It's just, how do you quantify some of the other work that volunteers do? Because that's impact as well,
And I add something as well. And Centro Rendu and Para los Niños, really we are like the small organizations. Our staff is very similar. And we do sometimes the job that some other organizations has 50 people in staff. But sometimes I feel that is difficult from the perspective or a donor to give us more if they think they don't have that capacity. So it's difficult how to measure those things. I don't know if I make sense.
Definitely. Thank you. Questions from you all?
Ashley had a question on the chat.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, okay. Ashley, have you seen, go ahead and unmute, Ashley. You can ask this. Thank you, Bob. Can you unmute, Ashley? Oh, can't find it.
So do you want, Ashley, that we respond?
Okay, so
Yes.
so her question, have you seen an increase in the number of people coming forward looking for help compared to previous years? What are the most common needs? Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, sorry.
definitely. I mean, it's around I mean, we don't do those services. Really, we are education, but we have the opportunity to provide the services because really the community need it. And definitely they respond. I mean, when we have funds for rent, we put it, we give, put away in our media the applications. The application start, we have hundreds and hundreds of applicants, but we don't have all the money to help them. So we have to cut them. The big necessity in the beginning was food. People didn't have food in the table, and later rent, and later computers for the children's school. And now they are desperate to find a job. So I think the more, I don't know if you are agree with me, Maria.
No, I think that's exactly right. And in that particular order, exactly. That's how we saw it too. First, it was the students coming in asking, just can you help me figure out, should I pay my rent or should I put food in the table, And that's when we started, doing a food bank out of our site. It's not something we normally would have done. And so we did that. And so everybody, just pitched in, and people were working extra hours to make that happen with the food. And then right after that was the rent stuff. And right after that, the technology, and to your point, for sure. And then now it's like we're internally, going through a process of, okay, well, what is our next program that we need to build? Does it need to be around workforce development? And because people might end up having to get different skills coming out of this pandemic. And the truth is that we're in the midst of it. I don't want to sound too crazy here, but the worst is yet to come. Means, it's not just about the virus, but it's about the economic impact on these people's lives once the moratorium is lifted. We are doing all we can, and I know the city is, and the county, and there's CBDG, there's CARES dollars, there's this lottery from the Chamber of Commerce, and all of it takes outreach also too, and for organizations like ours who have the trust of the community, that we can say it's going to be okay, your information is not going to be shared, with the government, or, because we also work with undocumented workers. So they're very afraid too. And, they didn't qualify for the stimulus package. Now there's some funding out there for them, but there's not enough time to get it all done. Even with the lottery, for example, this is something that the Department of Commerce has millions of dollars right now, but how fast can you move the dollars out before the end of the year? And so we've pivoted everything. I have all staff within Centro Rendu and the general St. Vincent de Paul just focus on those programs and just moving, and trying to reach out to people who are unaware that these opportunities are out there. But it all takes, it's round the clock.
I'm struck by, it sounds like so both of you are addressing still the immediate needs and having the, pit in the stomach about what's going to happen with the eviction moratorium. But also, as you mentioned, Miria, what's your next program in terms of workforce development and how to be creative of how to help people pivot in terms of that. do you have any partners in that, or how? So you're managing both still, the crisis and yet trying to think longer
And the,
term.
yeah, and the day-to-day operations while we're trying to build new partnerships and, you know, figure out what can we do with our properties to, you know, we have our thrift stores in King County, and we have only 3 open right now out of the 5. And you know, those were dollars too that were coming into our bottom line that are not coming in. Um, but how can we better put our properties to the service of, you know, whatever it is a community is going to need uh, coming into the new year. And so yeah, we started, you know, so yeah, we do the work we do every day, and then this other new stuff. So partnerships meetings and.
Well, I'm looking at Diane Dobson's name, like the chamber, like any partnerships with, you know, I know businesses are suffering, and but also, you know, everyone's trying to think creatively about what will be the new kind of economic reality or way that businesses need to be creative and pivot too, and whether there could be any, you know, connection with potential workforce folks from either of your organizations. So there's a lot unknown.
Mm-hmm. There it is.
Hi,
Yes, Christy. Who's
sorry. This is Hiroshi.
Okay, Hiroshi, then Christy. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm, you know, I feel the urgency in your voices and what's happening in your communities and stuff. And I appreciate the sort of the rank order that you gave around the issues that you're seeing. I did have one question though about the issue of isolation. We hear stories. I work at Valley and hear from like our care managers and stuff about people are being, you know, you get a positive COVID in your household and you're being asked to isolate, but a lot of families have a hard time doing that. I was wondering if you had any thoughts and observations around that in the communities that you're serving, and what might be potential help and support to be able to address that.
Well, I can start answering that. I think it's 2 different kinds of insulation. The one that makes us to be safe at home so we cannot get infected with COVID-19. And that is already have a lot of stress and some mental health issues for some youth and for parents. And the other one is when you have already COVID-19, you need to insulate yourself. And culturally, it's very difficult because probably you don't have a husband, we don't have a family to go and pick up groceries. But in my case, I belong to the Latino Health Board, and we constantly communicate, and I give a lot of resources to the people that I know they have COVID. And we as well, you know, try to bring food to their homes, and in the same time give information to people directly that speak Spanish from the Latino Health Board communities to give them more guidance, because they are we are not a mental health organizations, or we are not you know, a medical organizations, but yes, we can share all the information that we can, and follow up that they are followed through, because sometimes they are very busy right now. Let's say nobody called me yet, or nobody. So just to follow through and to help them to grow to go through all the resources is that we do. And we constantly put in our media. You can check our website and our Facebook page. We are putting now in our media all kind of preventions to COVID-19. Wash your hands, put your mask in the car when you don't go to family. And we are translated in sign language, Mixteco, Zapoteco, that there's 2 other languages that speak the Native Mexicans, English and Spanish. So it's another thing that we want to do because it's needed, even though it's not our part of our job before. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. Thank you.
Christy, did you have a question?
Yeah, there's so much work to be done. And during this time of year, as we head into the holidays, it's been a very traditional time for a lot of families to bring their children in and do acts of service for communities. And I was just curious, and this might be a good question for Leanne as well. Is there something that the families can do, because things are so restricted, to bring acts of service to the community during holiday time that may look different than they have in years past?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's always opportunity for that, even if we cannot gather a big group of people to be in the same space. In our case, we get different volunteers who come and help us at our food bank or clothing bank, but there's always opportunities for, at the churches, you do the giving tree or whatever, and we've been doing, we're going to do a drive-by at the Sunset neighborhood, new Sunset neighborhood community space there. And it's going to be next Saturday, November 21st. And people can drive by and they can get just a lot of little things that we put together. But with Christmas coming, every year we do a posada, an event for the community, a cultural event, and we always like to give the children gifts and things like that. So I know that that's another thing that that can be done, without having to be, with all the restrictions and all that.
And so if people wanted to contribute, I mean, I think it'd be good, Miria and Virginia, if you put your contact information in the chat, and I can get that out too. But are you looking for any donations of certain things for those events, or any other volunteers or anything, or
Yeah, we can always use volunteers.
okay. All right. So
I would like to say that as well, as far as volunteers. I volunteer with the St. Vincent de Paul in Renton through St. Anthony's. And we don't have anyone who speaks Spanish to help the families that call us. And we would very much like to, if you know people that have some Spanish speaking ability, it would be great to have that access for our home visits.
So Judy, we're definitely going to talk because we would want to grow are you in a conference?
St. Anthony's.
Are
Yeah.
you in the St. Anthony's conference? We would love to have you have your own Hispanic Latino Vincentians.
Yes, that
Yes.
is definitely something I am interested in. And also when you talk about services and children, because most of our volunteers were older, we did close our food bank at St. Anthony's. So if we would have some other volunteers that were willing to work with that, that might be something we would be able to do again.
Beautiful. You should share your email with me too.
Okay.
I'm putting mine out there.
Yes, it's something that we have been doing with the Highline pantry food bank. We have been sending some summer volunteers from Para los Niños because, as you said, it's some people that before collaborated and in a very high risk. So if you need somebody two volunteers that speak Spanish and English, we can definitely help as well. Donations, of course, are always important, and just we're going to have our gala soon. So I'm just going to leave a link. It will be our fundraising gala. If you can take a look, it will be virtual, of course, this year, and I hope you can join us. But yes, definitely email me, and we are sending people already from Para los Niños to many of the food banks around Highline. So if you need extra help, we can do that.
we have a few minutes left. Any other questions? if not, so I'll leave you with one last question, Miria and Virginia. What feels possible? Do you think of the next, I don't know, 6 months? Maybe that's too long, maybe 3 months, but what feels possible right now?
I have to say that there's many things that are unpredictable, but I can't say that really many other things will be possible. We continue having our organization, we continue have our staff that is working hard, our volunteers that are working hard. Everybody is really helping to be in places like food banks, communicating between organizations, sharing information. I mean, I think you are one of the pioneers in that, sharing all the information that we get, all the things that we do. I think people is donating more because they really understand the needs right now. And I think the love is there, the good intentions are there. I think it is many of possibilities. I cannot say in 2 months we're going to have this and this because it's unpredictable, like many things right now. But definitely we are working to we get more knowledge in general in technology stuff, so our communities can come and enjoy our programs in a different way. And fun. We have many assets. We are a very community resilient and great community. So I think the people that has been helping us for the 17 past year is continue helping us now. And that is just it's just a good feeling that and it's not just monetary, they help us, morally, they help us with recommendations, they help us with resources, they help us with donations, they help us to sometimes want to go to the food banks. It's many ways to help, and I think that brings a lot of possibilities to do a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think it's in my words would be it is possible to work together and to be creative together and to look at our resources together and say, how do we put different things maybe to different uses that maybe in the past, we have used in a different way, so just kind of being creative of looking at what we have together and thinking of new possibilities.
Great. Well, thank you so much. We all have to kind of keep that energy as we ride this roller coaster and find ways to help sustain ourselves emotionally as well as physically and spiritually and be in community together. So I want to thank you both so much for the work that you're doing, for taking the time today, and thank you all for coming, showing up on another Zoom event. If you have any questions or you have I'll send out a follow-up email again with their contact information to all of you, just so you have it handy. And enjoy your weekend. Be careful on this Friday the 13th.
2020.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks very much.
Thank you,
Great
everybody.
program.
Bye.
Thank you, Miriam, Virginia.